Today's video is all about SHIDO. Building on SHIDO, build without limits. SHIDO combines the interoperability of the Cosmos, development power of EVM and WASM. Today's video, we're going to be doing a deep dive and looking into the team, the tokenomics, the utility, and the overall value proposition, figuring out whether if this project has what it takes to make it to our portfolio for the up and coming bull run. So you know what? Let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome on the channel. We talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunities. And the question is SHIDO a opportunity? You know, at the end of the day, guys, there's a lot of good bullish projects out there, and of course we have to scrape through this market for the up and coming bull run and be prepared and figure out whether some of these projects have what it takes to make it to our portfolio. SHIDO could be one of them, so we're going to be using the website as our main platform to navigate this project and figure out all the details behind it so we can get fundamentally bullish. When we get those red days, we can have some conviction to be buying in at those lower levels. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's kind of scroll through here and see what's going on. Build on SHIDO, pretty good stuff right off the bat. We have some good value proposition. The fact that it is a basically built on Cosmos, which in this case connects to the IBC, which is, you know, a very a standard for interoperability. We'll talk about that in a little bit more. EVM as well. EVM compatibility is also in tune with the you know, cross-chain and the WASM WebAssembly standard, obviously very in tune with that cross-chain capability. So good stuff. It's a big narrative. It's definitely a push in the right direction, given that a lot of layer ones are looking for the ability to basically operate across chains. So pretty good stuff. Let's continue. What else do we got here? We got the ticker for the SHIDO native coin. Pretty good there. You can check out the network. I'm curious. Let me open this up in a new tab. We can buy SHIDO. It's going to take you to some exchanges. Growing ecosystem. So this is where things get a little interesting. We got 70 projects plus, which is good. Not bad for a small project. At the end of the day, you know, it's not the biggest project just yet. The market cap is still quite small, and it is definitely up and coming. Given its recent history, there's definitely an opportunity there with regards to its value, and we'll get into all of those details very soon. We have native SHIDO projects, which for me is a lot more interesting, right? Of course, we got projects built on SHIDO, and a lot of the times, these guys right here, you know, they're good. They have some good value, definitely growing ecosystem, providing utility for the actual coin itself. But for me, this is where the magic happens, given that they have their own ecosystem that gives us real world solutions to problems. And of course, it's built around the DeFi narrative. So dynamic landscape of DeFi, that's where SHIDO really shines, is in the DeFi space. Okay, so pretty good stuff there. We could potentially explore. So let's open up into this in a new tab. SHIDO scan, explore the network. We can go look at that. Let's go see what they have there. And this is all part of their ecosystem, the next generation cross-chain DeFi ecosystem. They got the app, multi-chain DeFi app, SHIDO network. They got a SHIDO card, which is essentially like a crypto card, worldwide acceptance. SHIDO DEX, they got a DEX and perpetual. So if you want to basically trade with leverage and so on, they got you covered right here. So they got everything. They got pretty much an overall well-balanced ecosystem to provide, you know, DeFi solutions for those individuals that want to get into Web3. So this is where it's at. You can download SHIDO app. They got a working product. They got liquidity on Uniswap. Are they available on Binance? I don't know what's going on there. Coinbase, they got a lot of good ones. The thing is that their DEX offerings is not quite clear on CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap. So this is one of the issues. I'm glad that they have it here, but it's not listed on another exchange on CoinGecko. So what do we do here? At the end of the day, what kind of relationship do they have here? Crypto.com, Coinbase, CoinMarketCap, okay, that's fine. But Binance, are they listed on Binance yet? So that's one of the things that we got to pay attention to. SHIDO DeFi card, again, 0 fees, pretty good stuff if you're interested in getting to, you know, your one easy click for onboarding and being able to spend your crypto very easily, trade on SHIDO DEX, a lot of good stuff. And then they compare to Ethereum, which is obviously the heavyweight of layer ones. Transaction rate, we know that Ethereum has its issues with regards to transactions per seconds and finality. We know that scalability and all that. That's why we have high gas fees. But you can see that SHIDO basically offers a lot of solutions to the Ethereum problems. And a lot of the competition nowadays that are coming out with these layer ones are definitely using Ethereum as their main focus to compete with, right? So at WebAssembly, that's an EVM compatibility, of course, USDT staking. They have their own stable coin. That's another thing to consider with SHIDO. They got their own stable coin. They want to be a full package, decentralized, one-stop shop for decentralized finance, which is fine, really good stuff. Decentralized storage, scalability module, a lot of good stuff where, you know, when compared to Ethereum, we know that Ethereum requires layer twos. We get it, right? This is not a new idea. Ethereum needed a little bit of help, and gave a bit of room for the layer twos to have something to offer, and that's where the layer twos come in. But SHIDO doesn't need no other layer, right? SHIDO's a layer one that offers all the solutions right off the bat. So at the end of the day, that's why I'm not so crazy about layer two solutions for Ethereum, because there's a lot of blockchains that are offering solutions natively. So good stuff there. Zero carbon footprint. Okay, one of the narratives that a lot of people are talking about, how can we make crypto and, you know, the mining, even though this is not proof of work, it's a proof of stake. How can we make crypto a little bit more friendly? Okay, so proof of stake consensus mechanism to achieve a zero impact. We are simultaneously running into SHIDO carbon neutral program. So they got a program going on. Go check it out, guys, if you're interested in that concept. SHIDO Labs. Here we have a roadmap, and you can see some of the roadmap, you know, a little bit of clarity, not bad. They are, you know, there's a thing here, because of course SHIDO just came onto their mainnet, right? They just got it, which is good. They just finally launched their mainnet. But up until then, you know, the community was left pretty much in the dark, which, you know, kind of got a little some people very emotional, even given the fact that there was a bit of an exploit, you know, an issue with the chain where some of the liquidity was basically siphoned off of the contract on the Ethereum network. So this is something that we got to understand, is that a lot of the times, you know, in development, we don't want to put exact dates and times, because, you know, in development some things happen, right? You know, you plan on a launch, it doesn't happen, so you rather have a window of opportunity. But as we were pressing closer, given the FUD that already exists in the, you know, and in the market, in the community, I think emotions were really running wild here. So now what does that mean about the price, right? So the price of the token, given that there's a lot of fear out there, and now all of a sudden mainnet has launched, and you can see summer mainnet version 2 already, SHIDO network SDK launch. We're going there. This is the SHIDO DEX is already out there, browser extension. They got a lot of things happening right now. This is where we're at right now in the spring of 2024, with which they hit the target. The problem is that up until then, there was a lot of people really nervous about it, waiting for that to happen. And, you know, so be it. That's the reality. Let's move on. They got a few this is what I don't like, you know, like, where do these come into play? What are these logos here for? Identify Morales, you know, Morales, the Ivan on Tech dude. He's definitely the owner, CEO, I guess, of Morales. He's the chief there. So that's a good thing. Lostness, Alchemy Pay, AWS. But you can see that, you know, they're just dropping, you know, logos. There's no, like, where does AWS come into this platform? You know, there's no real clarity here, and that bothers me significantly, because people coming onto the website to see such logos it could give you false impressions. Now, I'm not sure where this comes into play. Is it a decentralized storage? Are they using the AWS infrastructure? I doubt it, because that wouldn't be decentralized whatsoever. And then you keep on going. You have Banksa, that's a third-party onboarding, on-ramping, off-ramping service. Are they? What does that have to do? Do they offer that service within their DEX? Okay, that's cool. Hackin, okay, you know, hackathons and Blue Node Capital, and they got some other logos. I just don't know what they're for, you know. And a lot of times, if they're not clickable and they don't give you that information, you know, they're just kind of name dropping. I'm not trying to, you know, say negative things here, but I would have liked a little bit more detail. Latest SHIDO news, feel free to check that out. We're gonna go look at their X page, because I feel like there's a lot to be said there, right? They've been killing it. The reality is they've been executing a lot of what they had on their roadmap. Unfortunately, the FUD in the last little while kind of, you know, superseded all of that, and it's definitely reflective of the price. Okay, so let's see some of these tabs that we opened up. Build without limits. SHIDO combines with interoperability. Okay, we talked about that. EVM, WASM. Okay, great stuff. And all of this, the speed, this and that. Okay, interoperable. Again, a lot of repetition. SHIDO scan explores the network. We already did that. A lot of repetition. Participate. Network grant program. Join the community for developers. Okay, a little bit of support there for development, and that's about it. SHIDO docs. We can go on that SHIDO official documentation. Let's open that up and see what's going on there. We got the white paper, which I have open on already. SHIDO scan, which I did already. Another link to SHIDO scan. SHIDO newsroom. SHIDO IDE. What's that? So that means if you want to be a developer, they even give you the integrated development environment to program applications, decentralized applications, which is pretty good. Full on stack here. Not bad. I'm giving you an IDE that's specialized for the languages. I think it's very, very open-ended in which languages you could use, given that they're so interoperable. Zero carbon footprint, again, more repetition. These logos, again, more repetition. And you can see that websites that fill up with repetition, it doesn't look very nice. I'm not very keen on that one. Let's move on. This is their docs, their white paper. We'll get to that. Growing ecosystem again. What else do we have here? We have Binance Chain, blockchain. This is the Binance Smart Chain for running smart contracts. They're probably on Binance Smart. That's the early days potentially here for SHIDO. Banks, again, we talked about that. Changed. I was looking into this project before. It's a cross-chain protocol and bridge, so maybe that could be a very strategic partnership, but I would love to know how. It's not clickable. I would like to know how they're working. Chainlink is an oracle. They probably get their data feed for their DEX from Chainlink, which, is not really, a great thing in the sense that it's expected. It's expected that they have an oracle. It's not a strategic partnership. CoinGecko is not a strategic partnership, and we're being very critical. Cosmos is not. They use their chain. Their IBC is what they're using. Okay, fine, because DEX tools. A lot of this, to be honest, guys, is just look at that. Even Google Cloud. How does that have to do with anything? Right, so we got to be really critical about what is a strategic partnership here, and it could be that Leap and King Finance and all these are actually strategic. But looking at the Kelper wallet, that's not a strategic partnership. That's just a wallet. These are just wallets, okay, guys. So a lot of chains have these wallets. Mexi is not a partner, and all that. Math wallet. You got to be very critical here, and this is where I think is the most important part. What are they actually offering of value to the community? And it's all their applications. They got lots of stuff going on here. So I'd rather put more emphasis on the value here than put emphasis on these logos that they got going on here. Just because they're listed on Mexi doesn't mean that they're a strategic partner, okay? And they're Mexi's, all they are offering is people like you and I liquidity. That's all it is, all right? So let's move on. Unfortunately, this is their Explorer. Their Explorer is very, very I would say that it's not trustworthy. Zero market cap. I don't understand how this works. And APR is 68%. I don't know what's going on here. It doesn't look like it's finalized or it is a working product, in my opinion. It looks a little bit untrustworthy. So I'm gonna have to just just be cautious with using this. Total accounts 000. I'm not sure how to make this work, or if it is working altogether. A bit of an issue here. I really do value a scanner that is legit. We need a legit scanner because we want to know the token distribution, like how many wallets, top wallets. We want to see, the market cap and, circulating supply. All that kind of stuff would be great to have for a deep dive. Unless they have it offered nice and easily, if things get a little bit, you got to start digging around, which is not a good look. All right, let's move on. What else do we have here? This is the white paper, the docs again, and I already have this open. I just want to make sure. Yeah, I already have this open, so let's get rid of that. Let's kind of scroll through some of this, okay? An introduction. Let's go through the important parts. We can see that SHIDO documents user, developers, community, and validators. Okay, fine. But this sentence is the most important. It's a leading layer 1 proof of stake network. Okay, fine. Infinite scalability. Guys, that's a really bold statement. Now, I know that a lot of these layer 1s are coming out saying that they solve the trilemma. They're the fastest and the most scalable and zero fees and all that stuff. Just understand that the landscape right now is very competitive, and you got to be critical of these bold statements. It could be very possible that it's infinitely scalable, but do your research, do your in-depth technical research if you feel. SHIDO is permissionless and seamless interoperable between Cosmos, which is the IBC, which is important to understand, EVM, and the WASM. So a lot of projects within crypto rely on these three main, let's say, languages or standards, better said, okay? And in this case, EVM, especially with the Ethereum virtual machine, is a big ecosystem just right there. And having that interoperability just brings in a lot of liquidity, a lot of volume into the SHIDO, let's say, realm. Okay, so that's pretty good. Let's move on. SHIDO network, let's see what's going on here. I'm a little bit more repetition into this. I can see rewards and so on. Program ensures best developers. Okay, good. Overview, there's a lot of stuff here if you want to go over. So overview: superior, scalable, low gas fees, compatible. We already talked about. Deflationary, okay, something that we didn't talk about, which is burns transaction fees, base, and priority. So there is a deflationary aspect to this project, the same way a lot of proof of stake layer 1 projects do, because they want to ensure that over time the supply does diminish over, and then that way we can put a bit of a supply shock, and then the price eventually, you know, gradually goes up, which is a good thing, right? So this is a very good summary of what it is about. Compatibility and scalability. Okay, you can use Remix and MetaMask, all the EVM compatible concepts or standards that are used within EVM is fair game, which is good. But what I like is this: languages, because of course, as a developer myself, I do understand the value of, you know, not causing a scenario where developers need to learn a new language and have that barrier to entry, or have that, you know, that red tape, all that friction. Enable developers to freely choose a programming language such as Rust, which is, you know, up and coming. A lot of, you know, people kind of like Rust nowadays because it lends itself best for AI type of programming. C++ and Python, nice high level language, nice and easy for the majority, which is good, you know. So at the end of the day, you know, there's a lot of options here in Python. If you start looking into the language, and even with C, there's a lot of common factors in that program, especially if you start looking at like other languages that are very similar, like C# or even Java or anything like that. They're all very similar at the end of the day. In addition, the IBC protocol empowers SHIDO network. We talk about the IBC, the Cosmos ecosystem. It's like a base layer, the IBC. So, you know, it actually helps the interoperability across the Cosmos ecosystem, so which is good. Let's move on. What else do we have? Proof of stake. We talked about that. I'm not going to get into more detail about proof of stake. Scalability. Again, a lot of good token standards, a lot of good stuff. So you have the SHI-20. Okay, it's BE20, CS20, non-fungible. So you can actually have NFTs because you have the SHI-30 standard. So you can have a non-fungible token. So keeping up with the trends, keeping up with what the market is already offering, which is good. Decentralized governance. So that's another. So it's a governance token at the end of the day. Now, I'm not sure if it's regulated by a formal DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, or they have another way of formally, let's say, giving people voting options based on the amount of tokens they hold. So SHIDO holders can create and vote on governing proposals with the voting power based on the amount of SHIDO held and staked. So it is some sort of decentralized autonomous organization, but I would like to have a little bit more of that detail if it is a complete DAO or not, or exactly how it works. But not bad, right? You know, guys, how I support the decentralized aspect of projects, especially in the proof of stake realm. We need to have that because, you know, the token distribution does matter. And the good thing about this project, the majority, almost all of the tokens are already in circulation, which means that the tokens are out there in the free market, and we could rely on the invisible hand to give us a true value of the token, so, or the coin in this case, because of course it is a layer 1 utility token, so coin. So good stuff. So let's move on. Token standard, we talked about this. Decentralized deflation, this is where things get a little interesting. The first part of the transaction fee is the base fee. The second part is the priority fee. Both of them get burnt. So in that case, you have a deflationary aspect. The burn function automatically gets triggered as soon as SHIDO token reaches a certain amount, a threshold in the burn contract, they start burning, which is good, and into a dead wallet, and then native tokens, SHIDO coins from the total supply and circulation. So burning, they burn after all the transactions, which is good. At the end of it, there is a burn mechanism, solving inflationary nature, and most blockchains are battling. Of course, a lot of blockchains do battle it, but you know, Ethereum has its burning mechanism, and a lot of other layer ones introduced their burning. They're not the only ones. They're gonna make it sound like they're, you know, the only ones out there that found that solution. There's a lot of layer ones that are burning and finding ways to, creative ways to be deflationary. So something that's good for sure. Gas fee function, not going to get into that too much detail. What else do we have? Validator, delegator app, security, guys, the SHIDO bridge. You got a lot of good things here. Last 24 hours, okay, decentralized cloud computations. I think that's where you got the AWS and the Google Cloud and all of that. Guys, whenever I see those two names, AWS and Google Cloud, it goes anti-decentralized computing, right? If they had their own nodes and their own, you know, or at least they support, or they had a partnership with a decentralized, you know, storage solution, like maybe Arweave or Filecoin or anything else, and that way maybe that would be a strategic partnership to offer those decentralized cloud computing services. But to use AWS and Google Cloud, no, for me, that's not a good thing. But again, details, there is none under development and set to launch. Let's see what they come up with, and it could be a good thing. Launching Q3 2024. Guys, let's see what happens. Customized tokenomics, nothing here, unfortunately. Max supply of SHIDO is 13 billion at launch. Guys, all of these numbers kind of, you know, right now are a little bit everywhere. So we'll take a look at those numbers in a bit more details in a second. And testnet validator guide. There's a lot. Then the apps, if you want to get into a little bit of the detail of the SHIDO app, the DEX, the staking, you get my point. So right now, you know, it's a very good documentation here. It gives you enough just to get going, especially with the fact is that a lot the tokens are all in circulation already. So you're not really worried about tokenomics too much, right? The basically, you know, pump and dump, you know, some sort of whale dumping. There could be whales out there still. So we'll try to go and look at the Ethereum contract to see what kind of wallet holders there are. Let's move on. The SHIDO Explorer is not giving it to you, unfortunately. So we got to look at the Ethereum wallet. Okay, so just let's make sure, let's go back to the main page. Let's make sure we got everything. These are the products that they got, which is good. The SHIDO scan, okay, all of that. Information, terms of use, white paper, we kind of going through that, and we did that. Ether scan, which we're going to do in a second. Let's see if we open that up on in another tab for now. GitHub, and okay, if you want to go check out some of the stuff they got there. And, you know, I would have loved to see something with regards to the team, you know, who's behind this. And I can see that we don't have a LinkedIn, but where is it? Is there an about? At least sometimes there's an about section, which maybe can give us a little bit of something about us. Let's see. Layer 1, okay, about the project, SHIDO app. I get it. Where else? And there we go. Meet the team. All right. So meet the team is pretty good. At least we got some nice images here. Fine. But then as soon as you start clicking, you start to realize that the LinkedIn accounts are just replicas of what you see here. There's no information. There's nothing to give you more details as far as where they come from, meaning their background, they're from a professional perspective, what education, which other software initiatives did they get involved in the past? Do they have a good track record? Is their network valuable? What do they have behind them that could bring some value to SHIDO? At the end of the day, that's what I'm looking for when I want to look into a team. Now, they do have an X, which they're very, very active on X in the sense that you'll see that Bjorn is there doing his thing on X. But again, when I do my deep dives, I want to know who the CEO is from a professional perspective, and the COO as well. So this is where and that does help when there is FUD out there on a project. Okay, we're going to touch upon that. And again, guys, it's a bit of an old news type of thing, but I can see how the market is still dealing with it. And I think it's fair game to discuss what the market is feeling at the moment, because emotions are a big part of investing and trading. So we need to kind of address that. So it would be nice to see a little bit more into who these dudes are about, because I'm sure they're brilliant and all of that. And it will give us some more strength to buy in and to feel confident that the market is going the market is going to expect SHIDO to, you know, recuperate basically. So feel free to go check out their X. We'll definitely look at their X posts in a second. All right, so let's see what we got here. We got the Explorer. So let's jump right into that FUD for a second. Okay, the FUD SHIDO, basically token plummets 94% as an exploiter drains the Ethereum stakes contract. So what really happened here is all the liquidity available on the Ethereum contract was drained. And you know, it happens, guys. Exploits happen all the time in the crypto space, and we can't really judge SHIDO completely like it's a write-off, because we've seen many projects do this and come back stronger and stronger than ever and recuperate, and their price action takes them back to previous highs and in price discovery and so on and so forth. Guys, it's still early. The crypto is still very early. A lot of these new inventions are going to have issues along the way, and this is why the risk to reward, the reward is much higher, because you are taking risk. Big picture, this is everything in crypto right now is still very risky, right? Because these are new services, these are new ideas. You're in the forefront of a new wave of technologies that we've an update to our current internet. And if you feel like this is the space for you, you definitely have to be willing to navigate some of the issues along the way, right? It's not going to be a smooth, you know, transition. There's going to be some bumps along the way. And if you can handle it, great. And you can definitely take advantage of these opportunities. Because when I look at this, a 94%, let's call it dip, you know, I look at it as an opportunity to be able to get a 94% discount. Now, of course, you would think that way if you were fundamentally bullish. We already did a bit of the deep dive already. You can see what is happening here, right? We have a DeFi platform that offers great interoperability with many blockchains. There's no barriers to entry for developers, because languages, they're very flexible in the languages. They give you an IDE, they give you a lot of what you need. The tokenomics is good, everything's already in distribution. It's a proof of stake. So lots of good stuff here already, and we are afraid of a 94% dip. So I question, what happened prior? You know, where was your mindset prior? SHIDO was pumping, was doing really good with the price action. Guys, we'll talk about the price action in a second. But right now, what really needs to be spoken about is the sentiment, right? Are people buying the dip? Okay, this is the reality. Should we be buying the dip? Okay, so let's move on. Let's take a look at their X for a second, and you'll see that their posts are epic. Their posts are good. They're really on board. And let me make this a bit bigger for you guys. You can see that, you know, the major development currently is the fact that SHIDO mainnet is successfully launched. Guys, it's a big deal, because a lot of people have been very impatient in the last little while waiting on this launch, because at the end of the day, coupled with the FUD and the issues that SHIDO has been having, you know, all of a sudden we really want, you know, something positive. And here it is. 22 hours ago, we got this post: SHIDO mainnet is successfully launched. Major milestone achieved, giving SHIDO opportunities to grow the ecosystem vastly. Here we go. So what now, right? So bullish, perhaps. Price is still 94% dump. Just think about it, okay? SHIDO DEX V3 is permissionless AMM DEX, allowing any user to create a pool or provide liquidity to any existing SHIDO DEX pool. There we go. So they got the V3 going on for their DEX. What else do they got? And mind you, this is March 26th. We're not talking about old news. We're talking about fairly new news. SHIDO update with CEO coming live. You know, although the team is not forthcoming with some of those details with their professional, you know, background on, you know, LinkedIn and so on, guys, they have FaceTime here on YouTube and doing a lot of, you know, AMAs and providing a lot of information to they even have their YouTube channel, which is not a very common thing in the crypto space. Right, having a YouTube channel, coming out there and speaking about, you know, what they're working on is really bullish. In there's a face to a name to a lot of what they're doing, so that's a good thing. And we keep on going. Token 2049 Dubai, the premier crypto event. Obviously, we know that, you know, Dubai is a hub for crypto, and having some FaceTime there is epic. Good stuff for them for being there. March 22, that was posted, and then again the list goes on. The Apple App Store and Google Play, March 21st, cross-chain deck launched. App further improvements, they're going at it, and as the FUD was building based on that exploit, these guys were still cranking, right? They were still doing their thing, nonstop. So I appreciate the fact that they're still cooking in the background, regardless of what's happening. Now, there is a bit of an issue. Okay, the issue is that based on the FUD, you know, the overall community has been a little bit, you know, not a bit salty, let's put it that way. And that means that, you know, they could have done a better way of damage control. There's rumors of individuals getting blocked or banned from the Telegram and being very unhappy for asking questions with regards to the exploit and not being able to get information with regards to the mainnet. But now we're here, we got the mainnet, so now what? You know what I mean? So there's that usually represents a very emotional environment for both parties, both the developers, part of the SHIDO team, and the community in general. Unfortunately, we rely on the team, the SHIDO team, to keep things in check, because the reality is the dynamics between the both parties. SHIDO needs to be able to handle the general community in a positive way using their marketing expertise, right? So this is where I expected a little bit of effort on X and building more of that community, making them feel like, you know, things will be good, we'll make it, you know, wag me type of thing. And I don't think the community got what they needed. All right, so this is why we see the price the way it is. We'll talk about the price in a second. So if we go here to CoinGecko, guys, we got to be very critical about these CoinGecko numbers and CoinMarketCap. I do my best to make sure they're all good. It seems to be fairly accurate here. In the last little while, we have a bit of fluctuation on the market cap, but all good. Market cap is at about 42 million, which is okay, fully diluted, very, very similar. You can see the circulating supply and the max supply is pretty much almost the same at 18 billion units, right? So in this case, we're good. We're not really risking risk of dilution here. More tokens entering the market. So the question is now, how many bags, how many wallets are holding the majority of the tokens? Is there one whale, two whales, five whales holding the majority of all these tokens? And of course, we got to take a look. We'll look at the Etherscan. I think I may have opened it already, but no worries. We'll do this. Let's click that. Hopefully it doesn't kick me out of here. Good stuff. We're good. So again, another question is, why are we still relying on Etherscan? Well, because it was on Etherscan all this time, and now they got their mainnet going, so that's where they're going to rely on the SHIDO scan. But the SHIDO scan right now is not looking good, guys. Honestly, I would have loved to have a little bit more clarity with regards to this scenario, but there isn't. And to be honest, I couldn't get much information on the Discord as well. So that's the way it is. We got to use what we can, and at the end of the day, if they really found it concerning, they would have gave us that information. Let's take a look at the holders, what's going on here. Let's use the chart. The chart is pretty nice to have. That if you click that blue box, you get a nice pie chart showing you a visual representation of the holders. Now, these are all little accounts, tiny accounts. They just amalgamated together. You can see the big account right here is a mexi.com. Okay, exchange listing. Then you move on. Mexi.com, another one. More liquidity. SHIDO, Uniswap, liquidity. And we keep on going down. And then we start to lose it. Well, you know, 1.8%. Who knows? And we got more. We start to lose it. Now, if you scroll down, you can see Mexi, Uniswap. That's pretty much it. BitGet, you got a bit down here, 1.2%. SHIDO deployer, I'm not sure what that's about, but it's very little. And you can see it starts to get very healthy real quick. You know what I mean? 0.4%, 0.3%, and type of thing. Like, these are big bags, no doubt, but they're not decentralized, right? You're getting to a point where you're going to see all the tokens, other than liquidity pools, you're going to see them all fairly distributed nice and evenly, which makes things a little bit more risk free in the sense, because you know that there's not one whale that's going to dump on the market at the current moment. So not bad. And again, I wish I had more clarity from the official SHIDO Explorer, but we're going to have to rely on this right now to give us some information. So cool stuff there. What else do we got? Let's go back here. Yeah, in the $42 million market cap, guys, it's still young. It's still very, very young, with lots of opportunity here to make some gains. $42 million is a baby. So we can still see what else we have here. Again, BitGet, Mexi, and that's all it is. Now, I saw that they had Binance on the list over there on the website. Now, where's Binance involved? Like, I looked at the wallet holders. There's nothing to do with Binance. I think it has something to do with Binance Smart Chain. Again, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to rely on this. I'm going to rely on what I see on the wallets. And I can see the liquidities all on Mexi, Uniswap, and BitGet. All right. So, okay, guys, I do produce one of these infographics for you. with regards to each of my deep dives. Okay, guys, so we're gonna go through this. This is my verdict overall, overview, all that good stuff. So let's kind of go start with the ecosystem. The ecosystem, I'm gonna focus on their native ecosystem. It's great. They got everything going that a DeFi platform needs. 10 out of 10 there. They got their app, their bridge, their DEX, their labs, their launch pads, their nodes. The SHIDO scan needs a bit of work, but it's on its way. You know, this is the thing. You're thinking of a $40 million market cap project that is in the works. By the time they got everything ironed out, it's not going to be $40 million market cap, right? You're buying into a small project that is building still. It's in the building phase. So you have to understand there's obviously risk, but there's also a lot of reward. Once they complete all those objectives, you're going to be an early, basically getting involved nice and early, right? Utility, transaction fees. I'm talking about utility of the token, transactions fees, burning, governance, and staking rewards, of course, as a proof of stake. Very typical, good stuff here, and 10 out of 10 for that. Roadmap. Clear roadmap. It's pretty clear. Milestones should be completed. We're talking about should because they're in a general state of seasonality, you know, spring and so on, summer, and we're expecting some of these. And the community is expecting mainnet, and that was one of the biggest talks in the last little while. Now the mainnet launch has already happened. I get it, but that's still something that people are really concerned about. Is the progress, especially after the FUD. So something that we got to understand is I think that a little bit more clarity could have coming around, but again, part of the development team, I guess that, yeah, being able to be too transparent, what happens is that you are held accountable all the way down to the, you know, day and time. If you don't release, FUD. So I understand why a general idea of season, when it's going to be updated or released, is the best approach here. So not bad. Yeah, the roadmap, maybe a little bit more detail there, 7 out of 10. The team, 7 out of 10 there as well. Somewhat docs with interviews. Again, I showed you the YouTube. They are there if you want to check them out. I've seen lots of interviews there about, with the CEO speaking about SHIDO, which is good. LinkedIn profiles need a little bit of detail. That would be great to kind of see where they're at in their overall circle. Team information is limited to X profile. If you're okay with getting your information about a team with X and what they say in post, then fine. But for me, no, I would prefer a LinkedIn account and kind of see their circle. Socials. The socials, unfortunately, guys, there's a little bit of an issue here because we're seeing that their followers, yes, they're at 142,000 followers, but they've been dropping significantly. They dropped about 13,000 followers in 30 days. They're down 80% from the previous 30 days, and 150x posts down 36% from the last 30 days. So basically, yes, they did 150x posts, but they're still down in comparison to the previous 30 days, significantly. So, which leads me to believe that, you know, this is the peak of the FUD, and they're kind of slowing down their social presence, which for me is a bit of a problem. In fact, they should be ramping it up. Their Discord should be inviting. Their Telegram should be, patient. And in fact, I'm getting rumors that people are getting blocked for asking too many questions on their socials. Bit of a problem here, guys. You know, like, I'm bullish on SHIDO. I like the SHIDO thing, but I've seen communities totally, especially communities that are driven based off the community itself. The development team or the marketing team doesn't get involved at all. Which is a problem because then you drive a very toxic environment. I'm not saying it's there yet, but I'm getting rumors that individuals are getting blocked from the Telegram just for asking some detailed questions, which is unfortunate, right? Because when you ask for detailed questions and there's no real solid good answer, positive answer, that's how FUD begins, right? So what are you hiding, basically? Don't try to hide anything. Be transparent. It's better off. We get it, right? Long-term holders that understand the crypto space get the fact that there's going to be, you know, issues along the way. Yes, you'll get a setback, but, you know, pick yourself up, try again. And if the community is bullish and they respect what you're trying to achieve, they'll stick with you. Tokenomics, coins are almost fully in circulation, pretty much 98% of it in circulation already. Token holder wallet distribution is decentralized, not one or two, or, you know, a majority of the tokens are distributed amongst many wallet holders, which is good. And all we have is some bigger ones based on liquidity for exchanges like MEXC, Uniswap, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so pretty good with the tokenomics. We talk about the fact that it has, you know, burning and all that good stuff, and Obviously a really good utility for the token itself. Partnerships, so they got some partnerships, but I would like to kind of clarify that a majority of them, I would say a lot of them, maybe even all of them, because honestly, once I see a list of a bunch of logos, it definitely makes me look the other way. I start to be critical. Like, there's 70 plus projects, and we have things like Google, AWS, and then you have banks. Okay, then we start to think, okay, maybe they are in a partnership. It could just be a marketing partnership, but maybe Alchemy Pay. Sure, it's part of a very similar narrative, the DeFi, type of narrative. But what kind of relationship do they have? Is it just a relationship, or is it a strategic partnership? So they definitely do not have a strategic partnership with AWS and Google, but they probably have one for Alchemy Pay. But the problem is that when you start putting all these logos all into one lump, you start to not believe anything, and it actually devalues the strong relationships, partnerships, strategic partnerships that you may have. So my suggestion for all of crypto is, if you're going to put logos, make sure that they're valuable strategic partnerships, and make relationships known, but partnerships also very clear, and define how you are working with the project to work together to basically scaffold each other to the next level. It can't be just one-sided. Banks as a third party, for example, on and off ramp platform, how is that a relationship, a partnership? Are you guys working exclusively with one another? I would like some more detail, because reality is banks is used by every single DeFi platform out there. So it's not a very strategic partnership in my opinion. But again, guys, not bad for its size. They got a lot of relationships happening here that is definitely going to offer a boost to their platform. So 7 out of 10 for that. Exchanges, MEXC, BitGet, Uniswap. That's all I was going to get, and I'm going to give it 5 out of 10, because at least we know that MEXC is definitely a bigger exchange nowadays, a lot of volume. BitGet is definitely right behind there doing its thing, but we're not on major exchanges yet, like Binance and Coinbase, although I did see some logos there on Binance and so on. I think even Coinbase for that matter. But honestly, it's hard to believe anything when all you see is logos everywhere. So not bad. At the end of the day, CoinGecko's listing this, and I personally am a holder on MEXC anyways. I bought a bag on there, so I know it exists. So all good there. Ticker, SHIDO is the ticker. Trading volume. Let's just focus on trading volume here for a second. Guys, some of these numbers have fluctuated overnight, because I did create this a bit ago, so just keep that in mind, but fairly similar anyways. Trading volume, this is where I kind of like it. You can see there's approximately 11.812% trading volume, which is about $2.2 million worth of volume. In comparison to its market cap, you're looking at about 11%, which is a good portion. That's a good ratio. I like that. That means there's a lot of liquidity, volume coming in, volume coming out. And as a DeFi play, decentralized finance, you want to see transactions like that, people getting used to and playing around with the ecosystem. So I like SHIDO for that scenario. Now, some people may argue, well, because SHIDO's coming down, people are selling off, and that's why you're getting the volume. But it's been kind of going sideways the last little while. And of course, we'll talk about the price action in a second. So it's a layer 1 DeFi multi-chain IBC blockchain communication. WASM is WebAssembly, and EVM is Ethereum virtual machine, which is all three are very standard protocols for building blockchain technologies. So that's how you can get that multi-chain concept going. Listed partners are not strategic, however they are building relationships that are very valuable. We talked about that. Native stablecoin, guys, we are waiting for one of these DeFi projects to come up with the legit algorithmic or some sort of stablecoin that is not pegged to the US dollar. We saw what happened to Terra Luna. They tried, right? We got to admit that at one point, Terra Luna, the stable coin was, Doquan was at the top of the game. Everybody was loving him when the stable coin was working great. But of course, when things happen, things go wrong, it dumps. Everybody has somebody to blame, and the reality is they should have just blamed themselves. The reality is that these projects are still in research and development stages, and it's going to take a few projects to fail before we figure out how to make this thing work properly. And I am hoping that one day, projects like SHIDO come around and definitely give us some sort of stable coin. Doesn't have to be algorithmically based, but I don't see any other way to come up with a stable coin that is not pegged to the US dollar. We want to completely depeg ourselves, in the sense we want to completely remove that dependency on the US dollar, so that we can be completely decentralized. That's what we're looking for. Exploit caused a lot of FUD, guys. We gotta admit, that's what caused that dump, massive dump, and then all of a sudden we have to deal with it at the current evaluation. Okay, so the question is, what do we do at this point? It needs to show a bit more effort and damage control with the community since the exploit. I think they could have done a bit more. There was not much talk about it. Their strategy was to ignore it, or to a degree, I guess, and then to add upon that, people getting blocked from Telegram. I personally didn't, because I didn't ask anything on the Telegram. I went on the Discord, and what I did ask was very generic questions, if anything. But really, there's rumors that they're getting blocked from Telegram. Not a good look. Every time I see that type of thing happen, that spreads. Bad news spreads faster than good news, unfortunately, and I wouldn't be doing that if I were them. I would be figuring out what's going on there. A bit more transparency on the team would be very helpful, particularly when we see FUD, because if you can kind of know who's behind the project and what they're about, what they have done in the past, maybe they had these issues in the past or were around scenarios like this, we can actually come up with an idea of how they're going to handle it, or their expertise. How is their expertise going to be useful in a case scenario of FUD or whatever the case is? And not enough detail, in my opinion. Obviously, those AMAs, the YouTube channel that they got a lot of FaceTime there with the CEO and so on, is very useful, but full transparency to look in their background, technical background, would be very useful. SHIDO with the market cap of, guys, let's say hypothetically, because Rune is a beast, we know that Rune has been killing it. Rune at the end of the day has a value. Could definitely take SHIDO, if we compare it to Rune, SHIDO a nice 75x, which is a massive opportunity, no doubt. But then we're talking about Rune, a really good gainer in this beginning phase of this bull run. And at the end of the day, if it does get there, we're looking at about a 16-cent SHIDO. Now let's be a little bit more modest. Let's say SHIDO can get back to its where it was projected to go. The FUD blows are over. We get back in action. I can see it making a nice 50x maybe. I can see it getting to 15 cents perhaps. I'm expecting some good things from SHIDO, but again, we need to get over this, because if you see all the other fundamentals, all the other things that it offers, there's a lot of bullishness here. But then again, we need to get over this FUD. We need to see how the overall market adopts it back into its good graces. So for that reason, I'm going to keep it very light. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 because there's needs a little bit of improvement with the community. And there's some issues there that we got to kind of iron out with the FUD and all of that, because that could definitely be an issue going forward. But 7 out of 10 is still not bad because your reward is very high, guys. Okay, so what I want to do now is take a look at some of this. Take a look at the chart, guys. I know you're here to talk about some price action as well, so let's do that. So what's going on with the SHIDO price? The SHIDO price, guys, took a bit of a dip. We saw this thing come down from this scenario. We talked about a slanted head and shoulder, head, shoulder, and I have this chart on the Discord, guys, if you want to check that out. But it did definitely break down from that shoulder. Now, I didn't expect it to break down in the circumstances that it did, guys. It just happened, right? Obviously I'm not a fortune teller. I wouldn't be able to know that it came down from the exploit this hard, but this was the bearish price target. And let's talk about this in a little bit more detail. So basically what happened, I put in this line to the downside as a spider line because I was like, look, I don't know for a fact, but the reality is that this bottom down here as a measured move from that head and shoulder formation could take us down, all the way down here. So I'm like, let's keep it hypothetical. And then all of a sudden I started looking at these horizontal supports, and I saw this volume, which we're actually building right now, an increased layer of volume. And then Mexi stopped the trading and we kind of halted for a little while, and you can see that we're building volume into here, guys. We're building volume. Look at the spike in volume here. So now how can we interpret this scenario? People are selling off, people are buying. And we're seeing a buy and sell, by supply and demand battling out. This is why we're building volume. Are we making slightly higher highs and higher lows? I can see that we're making higher lows. Higher highs, not so much, but maybe even, triple topping, maybe a bit of an ascending type of triangular formation or an ascending wedge of some sort. I still feel like ultimately this area is going to hold up as support. I'm saying area because, look, we could come down even a little bit more. We do have a volume gap right below that can take us down multiple zeros, 0.00178 more or less. It could take us down here, fall through the volume gap once again, and then maybe get the bounce. But what I really want to, bring to your attention is, look what happened to projects like Solana. Okay, Solana had downtime. Solana didn't have an exploit, but given the amount of downtime, it's borderline exploit scenario, because really downtime is, in my opinion, equally as bad as a exploit, because really you can't even use the chain. So if your capital is tied up on that chain, you lose your capital anyway, and who knows when it's going to come back. The good news is that SHIDO made everybody whole, and they're doing their thing to make everybody back on track to the way they began. But then if we use Solana as an example, for example, when there was tons and tons of FUD because of the downtime and all that, look what happened. Look, literally, Solana's back and trying to get back to previous highs and get into price discovery. So there's going to be a moment where, the bulls that bought down here, the people that, did the deep dive, looked at the tech, look at what they have to offer, yes, are looking at this as a negative scenario, but also saying, this is also an opportunity, opportunities of which, you may be interested in buying in at an undervalued scenario. So think about back here. What was the difference between this scenario and that scenario? What was the sentiment like? Everybody was loving SHIDO here. Everybody was loving it. They were expecting it to keep on cranking to the upside. And I was like, guys, be careful because it could roll over. But fundamentally, nothing was wrong here. And if you come down to this level, you ask yourself, well, then fundamentally, what's the issue? Okay, there was an exploit that happened here. They fixed it down here, so it's done. So they're stronger now because they were able to, correct their issue. And likely that will never happen again, right? Because now they fixed it. Now, all of a sudden, how can we get back the price to where it was before? Literally, it's just a matter of time. All it is a matter of time, because the same thing that got people interested here should keep people interested here. So this is how the Solana story came around, and this is how the SHIDO story should kind of, continue to be, where we get back to previous highs. Okay, so if you start looking at momentum, it's looking okay. EMAs are facing up, green histogram bars to the upside. We have the RSI slowly moving upwards. Yes, we could come down for a bit of a back test and get a confirmation low, even a higher low in comparison to this low. And we could even make a lower low based on that, a little dip that we could have. And guys, that's an opportunity to see this thing fall through the volume gap, maybe get down to here again, multiple zeros, 179, and then DCA a little bit more. But ultimately, it's all based on fundamentals and risk to reward. If you feel like SHIDO has a future and it's going to recuperate back from all that FUD, I would say taking a bit of a punt at these lower levels is probably your best strategy at the current moment, because your reward is even getting back to previous highs, guys. You're looking at some good gains from current prices. So you're looking at least 300 or 400% to previous highs, which is crazy gains nonetheless. And we're not even talking about price discovery and all that kind of stuff. So you're getting an opportunity to get in potentially at a lower valuation because of all the FUD, just the market totally, fear. Now, another thing we got to understand is its market cap. It's a $40 million market cap. In itself, it's already small with lots of possibility, right? Never mind. And remember, $40 million market cap is because of this dip as well. The market cap fell because of the dip. So you're getting in on a potential fire sale. The question is it going to recuperate? Guys, that's the only issue that you have here. Let's take a look at the 4-hour real quick. Sideways, planking, indecision, accumulation, lots of volume, market participation, horizontal support. Do we finally break out of this range and start breaking through volume gaps above that? You can see that there's clear empty spaces because of the price action here, plus the dip came straight down with no consolidations along the way. So we got a lot of weakness here to potentially start climbing right back up to previous price action, at least getting back to about 0.0078, and then you can decide to de-risk a little bit and take a bit of profit off the table if you buy here at these lower levels, because of course buying in here at these lower levels, you deserve a bit of capital to kind of consider yourself a profitable trader. Taking that risk, you need to be rewarded. All right, guys, thank you for stopping by. If you haven't yet, do the channel a massive favor and slap the like button. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join that Discord, guys. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.